We'll start out by going to the approval of the meeting minutes. January 28th, 2021. Did everyone have a chance to review those?
Yes.
Okay, any changes, corrections? If not, can we get a motion to approve?
I'd move for the approval of the minutes.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, either say aye or wave your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, the minutes have been approved. We'll move right down to the report of the Audit and Finance Committee. Jeff?
Well, I was not present at the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. Jeff, you kind of ran that meeting for me. The only comments I would say is I would assume that you want to rely on those minutes as a report of the committee, but on the second paragraph, it indicates that I was there and made a motion. So I think that should be amended to say Jeff Jumner.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, feedback regarding the report of the Audit and Finance Committee? If not, can we get a motion to approve the report?
So move, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Can I get a second?
Second, Patricia.
Thank you, Patricia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right. Bills and communications. Megan? Do we have any?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm unmuted. Okay. So most of them are normal operating expenses. BST, which is our CFO for hire, he did raise his fees for $50, so that's now $900 a month. So that price went up. There is another large bill from him. That's because he did his year-end prep and his year-end and audit prep. I haven't seen Jim in February, so I apologize. I haven't sent the January reports yet, and that's because he hasn't done them. He was going to come this week, but he couldn't, so I will send them out as soon as I get them. Other than that, it's just normal operating expenses and the railroad management, which is the water line that we pay annually through the rail yards. On the deposit side, we did get a reimbursement from Empire State Development for the Route 205 traffic study. I think Jody mentioned last meeting that they are holding 20%, so we should have received $30,000 from them. We received $24,000 from them, and then everything else is just loan payments and rent payments. And that's it.
So that 20% that they're holding, Jody, just remind me, we're not going to see that at all? Is that just the state taking it back?
No, they just indicated that they don't know when we're going to see it.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Any other comments on the bills or communications?
I just have a quick question, Jeff.
Yeah, Dave.
It's on the rent and the Delgado change in square footage. When does that take effect, Megan?
So I had a call with Mason, who is Madison. Sorry, he's the representative that's generally there, and he wants to start moving this week. So they should be in by March 1st.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the bills or communications? If not, can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Can you get a second?
A second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Megan. Please move forward with paying all those. Report of the Projects Committee. Cheryl?
I'm going to let the meeting notes stand if anyone has any questions.
Any questions, comments, feedback, team? If not, can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Jeff. All in favor of approving the report of the Projects Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move right into new and unfinished business. Jody, the floor is yours. You're on mute, Jody.
We'll start with the Burr lease. At the last meeting, we asked Kurt to look at the current lease and to recommend certain changes. The major changes were in section 4.1, which is the purchase option. Originally had a purchase price of $725,000. That was based on appraisal that was done over 3 years ago. So the language in there just basically says it will be done based on a new appraisal being done that'll be paid for by the buyer. The second major change was the use of the leased premises that Kurt amended, which is 6.1. It says it will be used exclusively for transportation operations and ancillary uses, provided that the landlord shall not use the premises for accumulation of storage, keeping or abandonment of garbage, debris, or junk, including not limited to scrap metal, etc. And then the third major change to this lease was regarding insurance. And we had put in there, tenant shall maintain insurance against damage or loss of the building for the full replacement. Cheryl pointed out that this may not be feasible, that a lot of insurance companies will not want to insure a premises that is not owned by the owner. So we put it in there. We are still covering it. If in fact you can't get insurance for it, we'll still have coverage on the building under our regular carrier.
I'm currently paying insurance on a vehicle, a building that I lease. Have been for the last 40 years. So I'd question whether that's accurate or not.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on the commercial side, but there's no insurable interest. The only thing I don't know is the idea with the option to buy, if that creates the insurable interest. So I'd be curious to understand that a little bit more from your perspective, Tom. And again, I'm not as familiar with the commercial side of insurance to understand, but on the personal, if you don't have insurable interest in the property, you cannot insure it. You won't be able to be insured.
That's like homeowners.
Yeah.
Now, on a commercial site, we have insurance. I've been paying the insurance bill written in our company's name, on behalf, and the leaseholder is somebody else. So it's never been a problem. I'd be surprised if it couldn't be covered.
Do you have to list the leaseholder on as an
Yeah.
additional insured?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, the other way, which normally is done in commercial sites, is that the IDA would pay the insurance, and it's kind of a triple net lease, and factor that into it. That's the easiest way, because I understand what you're saying. Some insurance companies are good with it. Most of them are not. They want the AAA I have to pay. They have to have their own insurance for their own goods, and we become second on the insurance policy. So Tom is I've seen it all ways over the 40 years. So, but the easiest way is we hold the insurance. They pay it.
They pay the premium. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in ours, it's loss of income if something happens too. So all in a commercial property, all those things are covered as a leasehold, as leasing.
So how do we want to structure this then?
What is legal's recommendation?
That'd be you, Joe.
Joe or Kurt?
Or Kurt.
I've seen them. I mean, I've seen them both ways. It would. I think it just depends on what the carrier will do. I mean, if it's easier for the IDA to reimburse, so we can draft it that way.
What's our common practice with other properties?
I don't know.
How is my access set up right now?
In this particular lease in the past, the IDA paid the insurance. In the case of Ioxis, originally Ioxis was paying the insurance, so it went both ways.
I've seen it in all different ways, just like you described. With respect to, just an FYI, with respect to your IDA straight lease transactions, you have an interest in all of those properties because the property is leased into you, and then you lease it back to the project applicant. Project applicant buys the insurance on your behalf and pays for the premium on your behalf, so you're named as an additional insured.
That makes total sense.
So what should we do, team? What's the pleasure of the committee?
I would say Joe's suggestion currently is completely workable. The premiums, in addition to the lease payment, it's added expense for him to operate his business and protects us as the people leasing the property. It's probably cut and dried. I'm sure he has similar insurance coverage to where he is currently. I would be surprised.
Right.
Yes, he has indicated that, and that's why he had agreed to originally pay the insurance.
And so you just make sure the lease obligates him to provide the insurance and name you. You get certificates, get a copy of the policy. I mean, the safest thing is to get an actual copy of the policy, because getting a copy of the certificate, according to my litigation partners, is not enough to give you comfort that he or she is in fact done what they're supposed to do.
That's the key, Joe.
They recommended
The key is that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, so we don't. That's why generally in commercial leases, the leasee pays the insurance on their building, controls that side of it, know that it's paid, know that there's a problem, that they can deal with it. That's what insurance companies generally, what Cheryl was saying, generally like. And you control knowing that the bills are paid and then you're insured. But then you factor that into their lease. That's generally the safest sense, I would think. But most companies are good, and you just take that.
If he's buying the insurance where it listed additional loss payee, they'll notify us any lapse in payment. So, you still.
I know, I understand.
So either way can work, but whatever the cost would be in addition to what we've agreed upon as a lease payment.
This lease, as I understand it, was there was some discussion, although I wasn't at the meeting, that this lease is limited to 1 year. Is that correct? So that you can kind of gauge your position and see if you want to renew it.
It's actually a 1-year lease with a 1-year option to renew.
Right. Okay. So still, the comment stands. You can look at it at the end of a year, because I thought part of the concern was if there was a clutter or some problems going on there, that we would have the opportunity to walk away. So I guess to that end, my point is you're not entering a 10-year lease. You're entering a 1-year lease. So if they provide the proof for 1 year, I think that would be good. If we entered into a long-term lease, I would go with what Craig is suggesting.
If the tenant gets insurance and lists us as on the certificate as additional insured, are we also carrying an additional policy as the IDA on the building? I mean, are there 2 insurance policies on the same building at that point in time, or is there an advantage to us holding the policy and then he just pays the premium to us?
Right now, we are carrying the insurance on the building, and we were going to do that for at least a month until we got his insurance policy, and then we were going to take it off our policy. We can certainly talk to him about just paying the premiums on our policy.
If it's only a 1-year lease, does it make sense just to continue to carry our own policy? Say in a year that, he says, for some reason the lease ends, we got to go back out and get, insurance again, right?
That's correct.
The other question that I would have with this whole insurance issue, with the activities that are going to be going on in the building,
right?
Torches and fuel and, who's inspecting what and how often? With our insurance, they come through. I mean, I get inspected probably 4 times a year, which is fine, but just to make sure things are managed. I mean, they're a good company by reputation at least, but things happen. So, if he's got the insurance, we need to get some reporting of inspections. If we have it, obviously we'd have somebody go through it periodically, because those work centers can be, neat and tidy or sloppy. I mean, working on big vehicles, it's messy. Make sure what they're doing, and fuel's there, fire's there, we just have to be careful, that's all.
The other thing I'd recommend is you talk to your own broker. I mean, you've got insurance on other parcels that you talk to your broker and say, what do you recommend?
Yeah, good idea.
Exactly. That makes sense.
Good idea.
All right, so team, are you comfortable, if we direct Jody and Megan to go out, talk with our broker, get their recommendation, and based on that information, make the best decision for us that protects the IDA, but also, takes in light of everything that we've discussed today. Is everyone comfortable with that? So we can move this forward?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Anything else regarding the Burr lease, Jody, that we need to discuss?
No.
Okay. All right.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, guys. I know we want to move on from the lease, but I saw the language in the lease says that the tenant will pay for an appraisal if they decide they want to exercise the purchase option, and it has to be an appraiser approved by us. But should we also add engaged by us? I don't want the client to think if we approve an appraiser, then they go sign and they're the customer paying the appraiser directly. They become the client of the appraiser. I'd rather us be the party that's engaging the appraiser.
That's a good point.
I think you're right, Jeff, and I think you're right that most times, in most situations, there's two appraisals being done.
Yeah.
We get our appraisal, and if they choose to want to get one, either they can go by ours or they can go get their own. That's the way. Joe or Kurt, most transactions in an appraisal sale, there's generally two involved, I would think.
Yeah. Unless you're happy with the one that they get you.
Unless you're happy with the one. And if they're going to go do it, I mean, you have to worry. I'm not worried about what they do. I'm worried about what we do.
Right.
Right.
And we all know that folks that are providing a service to their client tend to provide the best service to their client that's paying them that they can. So I think we ought to be the engaging party in terms of this lease and this appraisal.
So
It is our property.
are we saying now that we're getting two appraisals, that we're getting one and paying for it, and they're getting one and paying for it?
No, I wasn't.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think what they're recommending, Kurt, is that we would have it appraised and the purchaser will pay for that appraisal.
Okay.
Correct.
But I also think that we can do whatever we want. We're in the driving seat. If we choose to if we don't like that appraisal, we can choose to get another one. That's all. And it's been through it 50 times. So.
Well, I mean, at the risk of drawing this out, I mean, my only comment on that is you've got to take a look at what the lease says. I haven't seen the lease. If it says, whatever the purchase price is, whatever the appraisal is, then you don't have that flexibility. But if it says each side gets one and then they have, they split the difference, or I mean, there's presumably a mechanic in the lease.
Yeah,
Joe,
true.
that's why I suggested that we be the party engaging the appraiser, because it says we're going to get one appraisal, and they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it, and we have to approve the appraiser. But I would like us to also have to engage the appraiser.
I would say that's sound.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. Good. All right. Anything else on the Burr lease? All right, Jody, we'll move down to the corning fees. I know you sent that out this morning. You're on mute again.
Yeah, this is an odd application. The project cost is roughly $14.7 million. The problem is how the assessor may appraise the improvements. It's about a $5.2 million building expansion, a 13,600 square feet expansion of their facility. Based on the numbers that I ran, and when I ran the spreadsheets comparing the 485B tax credit program to our standard pilot, I dropped the assessment, instead of being $5.2 million, I dropped it down to an increased assessment of about $2 million. Based on that $2 million number, it shows that Corning would be better off doing a 485B of this tax law and not doing a pilot agreement with the IDA. They'd actually save about $15,000. What we did, and I discussed this with Jeff, and he also, Jeff Lord, and he suggested maybe looking at a $6,000 cap on our annual pilot payments. And when I do that, it shows that we're a little bit more advantageous for Corning to take our standard pilot than the 45B. So what we are recommending is that we, for this one project, pass a resolution authorizing to provide a cap on our annual pilot payments of $6,000. Corning has agreed to that, and they actually sent a full application yesterday, a photocopy of it that was signed by their senior vice president. I don't know, Joe, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jody. Yeah, as Jody indicated, it's kind of an unusual circumstance because the project size is relatively large. You know, it's over $14 million. So candidly, the admin fees are on, you know, the high side, but the impact on the assessed value is relatively small, and therefore, when you do the math, it's a very tight presentation by way of showing the benefits offered by the IDA. You also roll in the fact that much of the equipment, or a substantial amount of the equipment, is processing equipment, and that is already exempt by virtue of another provision of New York State law. So the IDA is not offering, if you will, any benefit or financial assistance on that part of the project. So when you put this all together, the imposition of the upfront fee and then the annual fee, it makes the numbers very tight. Jody's done a lot of calculations. There's been a lot of conversations with representatives at Corning, and I think this is a reasonable, from a business standpoint, a reasonable solution. And with respect to binding you on future transactions, the resolution is detailed enough in terms of outlining the facts that it's not going to set you up for a precedent standpoint with the next applicant that comes down the path. They'll have to show very special circumstances just like this.
Okay, that answers my question.
Joe, you said the substantial amount of the investment is processing equipment and they're therefore exempt. How much of
and Jody can make sure that I don't misstate here, because the numbers were moving around a little bit yesterday as Corning was doing a final refinement of the application. But and I don't have the application open in front of me, Tom, but just from a 50,000 foot standpoint, the amount of equipment is $10 million, excuse me, and the amount of processing equipment was in the 5 to 6 range. So that, you know, that diminishes quite a bit the amount of the IDA benefit.
So you're structuring the fees that we already charge on what after you take out the processing equipment, or off the full number of 14 million?
Well, the upfront fee, your 1% fee, will be based on the total project cost.
I'm just looking for a precedent that, because this was exempt from somewhere else in New York State, if it was exempt on our gross figure that we're looking at, you know, is our fee still anyway reasonable?
I think the way, and Jody, you can step in here, I think the $6,000 number came from an analysis of the amount of benefits, and then taking into account the amount of annual fees. So it wasn't a formula based on the amount of project actually eligible for IDA benefits. It was more of a number fitting into the whole and still providing Corning with some positive savings with respect to the project.
Well, you know, I'm all for figuring out how do we do it, make it work. However, you know, we have other good corporate citizens that we charge standard fees too, I want to make sure it's well thought out. And if you said it's an exemption and a reason, I'll be careful that critics can't come after us, for being special. We have other, really good corporate citizens, like I said, who deserve every break they get as well. So we live here every day.
I agree with that, Tom. The big question in this whole thing is, what is the assessor going to do? I mean, I've emailed him, I've phoned him on a cell phone. He hasn't returned any of my requests because it really boils down to what are they going to actually assess this at? And in the case of, for example, Northern Eagle Beverage, when the analysis was done on that, I'm not sure that anyone's really looked at what the assessment was at that time and whether our fees were excessive at that point. So we're going to have to do a lot more scrutiny on how we analyze what benefits we're giving up to companies, because this may come up again. In the case of Corning's last project, the $12 million expansion, originally the assessor didn't increase the assessment at all. And then when he did increase the assessment, he only increased it by $500,000. So probably in that particular case, Corning lost money on that as well. I mean, I'll run the numbers, but it would seem that with such a small increase in assessment based on an $12 million project, that they probably had the same issue 3 years ago. And we never focused on that.
But isn't this like a phase of a much bigger project? Jody?
We're trying to convince Corning to do a much bigger project here. That's correct. And that's why we're trying to appease them with a simplified approach so that they don't have to do a 485B. They don't have to do equipment under a different section of the sales tax laws and then still lose sales tax exemptions on building improvements. It becomes more complicated because of the building improvements itself. At least $3.5 million of that is probably going to be sales tax eligible.
Joe or Jody,
Yeah.
Does the fee have to be written into it, or can it be written as it goes along, as we see what the appraisal will be? Can it be curtailed later on? Can that be adjusted at that point? Later on?
I had the same thought about that last night, and that would to me be the simplest way to be fair to Corning or to any business. The question.
What is that, right?
I don't know how the original policy was written of the 0.7 or 7% of the one-time fee is our annual fee. I mean, I'm not sure.
I think we came up with that just to be competitive with other counties. I think that's what they came up with at that point. Jeff would probably be better to answer that question than me, but I think when we did that, we were very low and not competitive. And Joe probably, and Kurt, I don't.
It was actually the upfront fee is something that you looked at and compared yourself to other IDAs, but the annual fee is something a little unusual. Some IDAs have that, some IDAs don't. And the 7 basis points was really based on, a budgetary need and an estimate of what your administrative costs are for administering these on an annual basis. That's why your 7 basis fee for pilot deals is more than the 3 basis point fees for bond deals with not-for-profits, because there's no pilot on the not-for-profit transaction.
Yeah,
Jody's resolution has a cap of 6,000. I think what we could do is, as we move along the process here and get this thing closed, hopefully sometime this summer, we can analyze the numbers a little bit more and then be back to you. But the number was acceptable to Corning, and again, the resolution caps it. So I think that gives us some flexibility.
And essentially, we're providing something on par with a 485B. We're not necessarily beating it. We're just making our offering competitive in a sense. I'm just thinking for future, different things when you mentioned the issue that Corning may have had a number of years ago in the last project. And if another project comes up that has the same types of issues, we may just end up sort of becoming similar to the 45B and save them having to go through that process, but providing, a different annual fee.
That's basically correct. I mean, if the building improvements were $12 million and the assessment came in at an additional $5 million, say, then we would certainly be more competitive than the 45B. It's just that because it's such a small number, we're not extremely competitive. I did send out also on the analysis, I looked at Plain County and Shenango County, just to give you an idea. Their annual maintenance fees are $1,500 a year. So in the case of this project, over a 15-year period, that would be $22,500. Our maintenance fee over the same 15-year period, based on that 7%, would be $154,000. So it's tremendously more. And I certainly agree that 3 years ago, well, even right now, I mean, we should really revisit our annual fee. But we're not out of the woods yet. We still have financial budgetary issues. I don't want to lower it down to $1,500 necessarily, but given the surrounding area, we're a lot more higher.
All right. And Jody, you did send out the resolution this morning.
Yeah, I apologize for the lateness.
No worries. It was quick. It was a quick read. Any comments, questions, or concerns about that resolution? If not, can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dave. Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, the resolution passes. Let me get back up the agenda.
Oh, Jeff, I didn't add the PPE applications to the agenda. Apologies for that, but I did send out the list for this round, the 6th round.
Okay.
I was going to add that I got 2 more applications yesterday, so that's another $1,000. So that brings the total requested funding for the 6th round to $5,500. That leaves $29,000, a little over $29,000 left in the funding. So I would just look for a motion to approve the current list of applicants. And I can send out that updated list with the other 2 if you'd like.
I just want to add that I stopped in and talked to Megan. I had to go in and sign papers, but had the conversation with the Community Foundation also, that we don't, we're not getting a lot of interest. And I still believe that we need to raise this grant amount to $1,000. We haven't even, we've been holding on to most of this money for months. And I don't know how that works with the 6th round, the applicants that are applying for $500, but I'd like to see us raise it and get the money out there and get it to some of these businesses.
So I would also suggest that if you do choose to raise it to $1,000, a lot of these businesses that have already applied, they sent me receipts that were over $500. So my request would be to actually go back to those businesses and send them an additional $500 because, they applied up front. And so I think it would be fair to them not to open it up to $1,000 and they weren't given that opportunity. So I think that we would go through a lot of money if I were to do that. So that would be my suggestion.
I would. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we wait on the increase? Because I don't know. I would just ask that we give it till March 31st before we make that increase. Because I think I still think that there are like the emotional side of it, I don't think people know about the change that they can that they can apply for $500 working capital. Because I can tell you that, I think a little bit more push on this. I think there will be a lot more applications coming in. I also think
I agree with you, Andrew. I don't think people know about it.
Yeah, I also would just say, Megan, one other thing, maybe you and I can just connect. I think I would just suggest we set up the application online. I can help you do it through a form builder I have called Woofu, and that way, they could. I'm running a similar application for the Hunger Coalition right now that it got some money from the Community Foundation as well as another foundation. And it just streamlines the application process. They still would scan their receipts or mail them to you, but the application, we could speed it up and make it a lot easier to submit.
Let me just ask a question. The receipts that you're receiving are based on PPE?
Until now, I did get a couple PPE receipts in this round, but most of them were working capital.
And they don't need receipts, right? For working capital.
They do need.
They do?
Yeah. So I got NASDAQ bills. I got some insurance bills.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
Great.
All right. So what does the committee want to do?
My $500 isn't a lot of money. $1,000 isn't a lot of money. I mean, having it in the bank doesn't do anybody any good. So to me, somebody can benefit from it, the better off the community would be.
We're talking about also at $1,000, we can still impact 20 more businesses. That's significant.
I don't think
I would like us to
go
see
back.
us complete with money as fast as we can, quite frankly.
Dave, I think you have to go back to every single business we already award. I think you're opening up a can of worms, to be honest. I think you have to go back to every single one of these businesses and afford them that opportunity to apply for up to 1,000. So I think you're basically going to end the program. That's just my perspective, because I think you have to give them that opportunity then.
Well, I think it makes sense to go back to all the businesses that have previously applied and let them know that they can apply for an additional $500 of working capital. But I think the point is partially to end the program, is to get the money to the businesses. There's no point in us running it for another year and just spending the same amount of money. It's different if we had a lot more money to spend and we were getting replenished, but if we've got a fixed amount of money, the sooner it's out there, I think that's probably better. But I think it does make sense to contact all the businesses that have applied and let them know that they can reapply for another 500 if we choose to raise the, but we're still sitting on, what, 29,000?
60% of the money we're still sitting on months and months and months later. So
Right, but when did we make the capital change?
January 25th.
So 30 days ago. I'm just pointing out, I mean, that like we sat on PPE for months and months and months. We just changed the capital expenditure, your capital costs. Nobody knows it. I'm just saying, nobody knows that right now.
why don't we do this? Take it off. We notice to the previous companies, businesses that applied for 500, tell them that they're eligible for an additional 500, and then all new grants going forward are.
I'm going to vote on
thing.
A lot of the businesses had already sent me receipts that were over 500. I mean, I had one person send me rent for 3,000, so they would automatically be eligible. So if I were to go back through a lot of these applications, I would get rid of a lot of that money. So it really comes down to if you want to keep it open for working capital, or if you want me to go back through the applications that I already have. And
What was the count we had?
how many applications?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but I would say a little over 40, maybe 50. Total requested today is $20,990.79, and we have $29,009.21 left.
So basically, if everybody got 500 more, we'd be winding down the fund, which is fine. I mean, that's what it's for, is to get it out where it can help business people, right? But I'm fine with raising it and telling the, communicating with the people who already have,
I think that would only be fair. I mean, if they found out that we raised it to 1,000 and they applied for 500, I mean.
That works.
As a business owner, I don't know about you, Tom, but I would know if I wasn't on this board, I have no idea that this even went on. That's the issue that Andrew's bringing up. That's the only question. And I don't know how many businesses there are. There's less than there were a year ago, but if there's 100 businesses and you're taking, and these somehow, I mean, I've told people just in walking, but there's no, and I think that's what Andrew's trying to say. Nobody really knows. It's not. So is our goal to reach as many businesses as we can, or our goal is just to get rid of the money?
Okay, so that's a different challenge. That's communication,
Right.
Marketing. This
Correct.
is
So I'm
money.
just asking you. Yeah.
So
did you know about it? Would you have known about it?
Absolutely not. However, our challenge is to get the money in the hands of business people, not to worry about, do we have a perfect communication system to reach all the people we could reach?
Okay.
I mean, we can't fix that. That's a whole different marketing challenge that isn't, I don't think, in our purview, and we don't have the resources to do that. If we get the maximum amount of money in the hands of business people and they can spend it, it fulfills its intended purpose. So to me, the quicker we can do that, I'm flexible. I'm not dug in any particular area. Let's just get the money out where it can help people as best we can.
I just think we should give it another 30 days. That's all I'm saying. March 31st. I think between the chambers putting out new announcements, with giving it more focus on working capital, and then a little bit more, maybe I think we could get some press attention, a little bit more press attention. And I do think we could see those uptake very quickly. I think with a combination of an online application to make it as easy as possible for them to apply.
Okay, so I live at.
Hey, Dave, why don't you move your motion, Dave, and then we can vote on it. Let's just do that.
Yeah, fine.
That's my suggestion, or not.
Yeah, my motion.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my motion would be that we extend it to $1,000, that we allow past recipients to reapply for working capital money. And then obviously when if they do, then we may still have money left to attract new businesses. I think we asked the chamber to put it in their monthly newsletter. And then I think we can also get it announced other places.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been first and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? Yes, Joe.
Yeah, sorry, just to make clear, because I haven't looked at your policy. This was, if it's what I'm thinking about, it's in reaction to the change in the IDA statute, which allows you to do grants or loans for PPP. Just make sure that when someone said working capital there with respect to the motion, I believe what we should say is whatever's allowed under the statute, so that you're consistent with the statute in terms of the use of the money.
But this isn't
Not our money.
funds.
Joe,
Not our money.
the only difference is that based upon your recommendations, we did not use IDA money. We used capital
Okay.
resource.
All right. Okay.
Right.
So I'm
Exactly.
sorry, I'm speaking without having all the facts. If this is non-IDA money, then you're A-okay. You don't have those strings, so I'll apologize.
Isn't if 50% of this money, 25,000, is from the community foundation, correct? Rooted through Andrew, is it the Future
Cooperstown Foundation.
Yeah.
Cooperstown Foundation, yeah, which is a part of the Cooperstown Chamber, separate C3.
Right. Right.
Can we agree that our purpose would be to have all this money in hands of somebody else by May 1st? I mean, that's our desire, right?
That's our desire. That's my desire, anyway.
Yeah.
Can I just ask what communication has taken place? I'm just curious if we're looking to do something different in the 30-day period, or if it's just gonna be more of the same, which is gonna lead to the same outcomes.
So I've done Facebook. I think I mentioned before that I reached out to all the town supervisors. I went on every town's website and literally just sent an email to highway superintendents and anyone that I could find an email for. both the chambers have posted it several times. I know that Otsego County Chamber just put it in their newsletter a couple weeks ago. I believe the hometown did something when we first started it, but they haven't done anything since then.
Yeah, the Cooperstown Chamber is not aware of, and that's my fault, but I don't think they've sent out any more promotions on the working capital piece of it.
I don't think they have. I think I want to say they shared our post on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe they're aware of it. They're aware of
I
it.
can ask and make sure we send out a dedicated email.
I think, Cheryl, to answer your question, I think the 2 applications from Richfield Springs might be attributable to Dan Sullivan, who I know is talking about it to all the businesses up in that area in particular. And I think Albert Polinsky also in the Edmondson area is talking to businesses.
All right, team, we have a motion on the floor. We've had a first and a second. Any further discussion? If not, let's.
The one thing I just want to reinforce is that we can't promote this change until Megan goes back through all the applicants. I mean, if this gets passed, I just want to be clear. I really don't think we're going to see many new applicants by making this change. Which again, for me, I'm going to vote against it. I think $500 is a good amount of money. I think give it another 30 days. I think we'll see more applicants.
Any other additional comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
No.
No. Thank you, Andrew. Anybody abstaining?
I don't know, so I don't even.
I'd like to, can we do another motion for something else?
Well, we got to finish this first. So, let Cheryl, since we, this is on Zoom, we do have a split, so we'll do an actual roll call vote, please. Cheryl? I mean, Megan?
I can do it. Sure.
Sorry. I was looking at you on the screen and it's like...
Jeff Joyner?
Yes.
Dave Rowley?
Yes.
Jeff Lord?
Yes.
Craig Nelson?
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Tom Armeo?
Yes.
Patricia Kennedy left the meeting. Cheryl Robinson?
I still don't know.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Andrew Marietta?
No.
All right. And Josh Edmonds?
I'll go yes.
Okay. Cheryl?
I'll go yes.
Time to think about it?
Can we make sure though that we do go back to all the people that have previously applied and make them aware that they can apply for 500 more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's part of the motion.
Them a lot, so
That was part of the motion.
I feel that's only fair.
All right.
And
The
It'd be a
motion
pleasant surprise to them to get another $500 in the mail. So.
And I guess
The
I could
motion has
also
passed.
stress that we make sure that as soon as we've done that, we have again another blast or communication that takes place in the channels that we want it to take place in.
All right. Thank you. The motion passed. We'll now move down. Is there any other or unfinished business?
Can you approve the list, the 6th round that I sent out? That's where this all started.
Okay.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Is there a second?
Yeah, Dave.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
I'm abstaining. I have a family member on one of those businesses that owns. So.
Good. Thank you, Cheryl. We'll make sure we note that in the minutes. Thank you. All right, team, any other new or unfinished business? If not, we will now move into the public comment period. Anyone in the public would like to comment? Seeing nobody from the public on this meeting, we will now move into executive session if needed. Is there any need for executive session? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Thank you very much, Dave. And since you only need a motion to adjourn, we'll move, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much. And going to the next, I've got to leave, unfortunately, for a board meeting. So, Dave, I will turn the rest of the meeting over to you.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye, Jeff.
Have a great day.
So, call the CCRC meeting to order. Megan, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, I can. Jeff Joyner, David Rowley,
Here.
Jeff Lord,
Here.
Craig Gelbsman,
Here.
Tom Armeo,
Here.
Trisha Kennedy, Cheryl Robinson,
Here.
Andrew Marietta,
Here.
Josh Edmonds.
Here.
I will forego the chairman's remarks and move to approval of meeting minutes. Meeting of January 28th, 2021. Everyone has had an opportunity to see those. Do I have here a motion for approval?
So move, Cheryl.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. New and unfinished business. Jody, do we have new and unfinished business?
We probably do, but no.
Okay. That's a confusing answer to me. I don't know about anybody else. So at this particular point, we do not, but we may have in the future. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Is there any call for an executive session from anyone? Jody?
No.
Anything from the floor? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
I think that was Jeff Lord, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
It was. Yep.
The CCRC board meeting is adjourned at this particular point in time. Jody, I don't believe there's any other business to consider. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.